Once upon a time, in a prosperous kingdom, there lived a young girl named Rosa, who was as beautiful as she was kind. However, the happy life she had known came to an abrupt end. Her family lost everything to her father's conniving enemies. After that, she decided to enter Versailles Academy to try to change her fate. To bring her noble family glory and wealth once more, she strove for the title of First Lady of Versailles. However, a noble girl named Irene came into the picture. She was as jealous as she was arrogant. Irene sabotaged Rosa and found discreet ways to harm her. She even tried to steal the man Rosa loved, Marquis Frederick, but to no avail, as the Marquis' love for Rosa was true. In the end, all of Irene's crimes came to light. The crown found her guilty of all her sins, and as punishment, she was banished from the kingdom. With Irene gone at last, Rosa was given the title of the First Lady of Versailles. Rosa lived happily ever after with Frederick by her side, and they lived happily ever after. Our female protagonist, however, was disappointed with the boring ending. They always do this and end up ruining the best shows. She liked the story Rose of the Kingdom at first, but the ending felt anticlimactic. She pouted, growing angry over the fact that the audience barely got to learn anything about the main antagonist, Irene. Everyone on the bus started fussing over her, wondering what was wrong. She thought back to the scene where Irene confidently challenged Rosa, sarcastically telling her that while Rosa might have grace over beauty, she would never be able to defeat her. The female protagonist found Irene very cool. She admitted that the author did a great job building up the rivalry between the two women. However, she wondered why the author made Irene so evil without explaining her motivations. She sighed. The author should have at least given them one chapter about her background. She sympathized with Irene, who had been built up to be just as gorgeous and as smart as the heroine. She groaned aloud, lamenting the fact that Irene never triumphed, not even once. Tears welled up in her eyes as she sobbed over how the author had ruined Irene's character. As the bus arrived at her stop, she got off, still fuming. Her phone rang, and she answered the call, assuring the person on the other end, she'll be there in a bit. She reminded herself to focus, murmuring, everything will go perfectly today. Yes, girl, self-affirmations are very important. I do it every single morning too. Walking briskly, she resolved to snap out of her frustration over the novel's ending. After all, today was her day. She entered a boutique and greeted everyone warmly. The girls in the boutique thanked her for showing up on time. One of them asked if something had happened. Another worker explained an issue with a dress, detailing the entire situation before concluding they want a total redesign and wondered if Madison could do it. Madison beamed, replying confidently, leave it to her. Though it wasn't easy, Madison had finally managed to reopen her mother's boutique after 15 long years. The redesigned dress was finally ready to go, and the workers praised Madison, calling her a lifesaver and wondering aloud what they would have done without her. Madison smiled and points, since she's their first customer, she'll deliver it to her myself. The workers assured her they would keep the other customers happy until her return. As Madison crossed the road, she hesitated, trying to remember if the customer's address was to the east or west. Suddenly, someone screamed at her to watch out. A fast-moving truck barreled toward her, and before she could react, it crashed into her. People rushed to her side, pitying the young woman and urging someone to call an ambulance. With her last breath, Madison whispered mother if she did well. She reflected on how, after so long, she had finally achieved her and her mother's dream of rebuilding the boutique. She promised herself she would deliver the dress to their first customer once she woke up. No! Stop! The author is really messing with my mental health box. Was it really necessary to add this last scene? She opened her eyes, her head aching. The ceiling above her looked strange. Confused, she looked at her hands, wondering if her hands were always this small. She glanced around, questioning where she was. Suddenly, a young lady approached her, exclaiming with excitement. Madison, on the other hand, found the woman incredibly beautiful and oddly familiar. Her dark, silky hair and sharp, gorgeous eyes struck a chord. Madison thought she looks exactly like the villain from the novel she was reading, recalling Rose of the Kingdom. It hit her this was Irene. The baby beside Irene called out, Mama. Irene beamed with joy and replied, Mommy is here for her daughter. Madison gasped, questioning herself, am I dreaming? Why is that lady calling me her daughter? She began to piece it together. If she wake up inside the novel Rose of the Kingdom? And wonders if she woke up as Irene's daughter? The baby was playing with a piece of cloth, admiring how beautiful it was. Irene noticed her and asked if she liked the fabric, promising that she would make a dress for her when she was older. It seemed her daughter shared her interests. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Irene stood up to see who it was. A young girl appeared and informed her that there was a little hole in her dress. She asked if Irene could patch it for her. Irene took the dress and told the girl to wait for a moment. The girl explained that she needed to get it fixed because she couldn't afford a new one. Meanwhile, the protagonist, trying to gather as much information as possible since waking up as Irene's daughter, observed her surroundings. It became clear that she was now living inside the novel she had read before dying. However, the Irene in front of her was not a noble woman as depicted in the book. Instead, Irene appeared to be working as a tailor, and Madison was now trapped in the small body of Irene's daughter, Alina. Madison thought to herself, how did she got here, and why her? No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't think of a logical explanation. Frustrated, she buried her face in the piece of cloth she held. This caught Irene's attention, and she asked her if she was all right. On the other hand, the ginger-haired girl said she would come back later to collect her dress. Irene gently pulled the cloth away from Alina's face, but Alina just wanted to move freely and talk. She raised her hands, asking for a hug. When Irene picked her up, Alina began screaming internally, wishing she could have her old body back. She thought back to her past life, where she had worked so hard to rebuild her mother's boutique, only to die before enjoying it because of a reckless driver. This realization made her anxious. If she had truly died in her past life, then this new world was all she had now. She resolved to make the best of her second chance. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into years. Over time, Alina grew to love Irene like her own mother and embraced her life as Irene's daughter. Later, we see Alina stitching something as she nears completion. Irene enters the room and, noticing the mess, points what she's trying to do this time. Like any good mother, Irene had taught Alina many things. Alina replied that she was trying to make lace for a new dress. Irene praised her, saying she was very proud of her. Irene was far from the villainess described in the novel. Alina thought to herself as she beamed and thanked her mother. As Alina grew older, she wanted to help Irene even more. One day, she twirled in her dress and told her mother she'd be right back. Irene, however, suggested she spend some time playing with Jean instead of always hurrying back to work. Alina giggled and replied that the customer might return soon, and she wanted to help her mother finish the dress before they arrived. As Alina left, Irene called after her, telling her to be careful. Alina went to a shop, where Jean came out to greet her. She handed him his mother's dress, saying it had been mended, and asked him to give her regards to his mother. Jean hesitated and asked if she was leaving already. Alina explained that she needed to help her mother. Jean's mother came out, urging Alina to play with children her age, like Jean, since her mother seemed worried about her. This made Jean blush, flustered by the conversation. Alina thought, amused. Alina politely replied that she worked because she wanted to. Jean's mother nodded and handed her a bag to give to Irene, along with her thanks. Alina accepted it and headed off. Instead of playing like other children, Alina preferred practicing her skills so she could learn to make fine dresses. As she walked, a thought crossed her mind. If she's pushing herself too hard, perhaps her past life still bothered her. In that life, her mother had died in shame after competitors ruined her reputation and business. Now, with this second chance, Alina wanted to protect Irene from experiencing the same pain. When she returned home, Irene teased her for not staying to play with Jean. Alina defended herself, saying she just wanted to hurry back, and added that Jean's mother had given them some bread. Irene smiled and advised her not to overwork herself, reminding her that she was still a child, but for Alina, it was worth it. She just wanted to help her mother so they could have a better life, hoping to rise to the upper class someday. Irene stiffened and warned her, status, power, wealth, they all sound great, but you can't let your desire for those things blind you. Otherwise, you might ruin someone's life or your own. Alina wondered if her mother was referring to Rosa. She asked if it is true that she was a noble. Irene hesitated before asking how Alina had come to know about that. Alina replied that she had heard people in the town talking about her mother. It was true that rumors about Irene were circulating, but even if they weren't, Irene's refined way of speaking, her graceful movements, and her eye for fine dresses clearly indicated that she had once been an elegant noblewoman. Alina felt she would have recognized this even if she hadn't read Rose of the Kingdom. Irene knew she couldn't keep her past hidden from Alina forever. She blamed herself for not being more cautious about the rumors. She confessed bitterly it's all because of Rosa. Rosa had been the one to receive the title of First Lady of Versailles while Irene was away at school. Rosa had framed her for a horrible deed, accusing her of attempting to poison her. Irene swore she would never do such a thing, but her protests had fallen on deaf ears. The crown deemed her guilty, and as punishment, she was banished. Tears streamed down Irene's face as she lamented she just wanted to give her a better life, but there's nothing she could do. This was the truth behind the story of Rose of the Kingdom. Alina realized that the author had left out so much of Irene's side of the story, ending it abruptly without revealing her fate. As Irene cried, Alina stared at her mother, holding a glass in her hand. She thought to herself, so that's why the story felt incomplete. She approached Irene, gently assuring her. Alina resolved to make Rosa pay for hurting her mother and to expose her lies. Placing her hand over her heart, she looked determined, her eyes blazing with resolve. Alina decides she will become the next First Lady of Versailles to expose Rosa. In order to do that, she will need money and power. We see Irene washing clothes at the bank of a river. Two ladies behind her conspire against her and push her into the water. Alina comes forward, screaming, asking what the hell they are doing. They mock her, saying her mother didn't teach her to respect her elders. Alina demands the two of them apologize to her mother. They state that it wasn't intentional and mockingly add that Irene isn't just an old woman but a banished criminal. Alina glares at them before screaming in anger. Irene apologetically tells her that she didn't have to be so angry about it and asks her to help carry the clothes home. Alina is about to argue, but her mother cuts her off, saying it's alright. This is why Alina wants to become the First Lady of Versailles. With that title, she would be powerful enough to persuade even the king to change rules or reverse decisions like banishment, but everyone knows that the Academy only accepts nobles. She needs to find a way to get enrolled without them realizing who she is. There's one major problem: everyone who attends the Academy has to pay tuition. That's easy for nobles but not for people like her. She needs to figure out how to earn all that money before enrollment closes, and she only has 2 weeks to do it if she ever wants a chance to clear her mother's name. As Alina rubs her back while stitching, she reflects on how their seamstress work has been slim for the past 3 months. If only they could attract noble patrons. Suddenly, her attention is caught by a noise. She goes downstairs only to see her mother bowing before a man who points out that it's time to pay their taxes, and they need the money right now. This is the second time they've come to collect this month, and Irene is still short. Irene apologizes and informs the tax collector that they will pay as soon as possible. The man retorts that excuses won't cut it this time. If they don't pay, Irene will be arrested. Alina is shocked. The tax collector demands to take Irene into custody. Alina steps forward and pleads for a little more time, asking for just 1 more week. She promises that if they fail to pay by then, they can arrest both of them. There's a tense silence before the tax collector responds that this will be their last chance and warns them not to disappoint him. He leaves, and Alina drops to the floor. Her mother asks if she's alright. Alina responds that she's fine and tells her mother not to worry. Irene asks what she was thinking when she stood up to the tax collector. She points out that even with 3 months, they wouldn't be able to arrange such a large sum of money. Alina reassures her mother, saying, "Leave it to her, she'll find a way." She wipes away her mother's tears as Irene questions how she could possibly arrange such an amount. Alina explains her plan. She will make new dresses and sell them to wealthy nobles who will pay good money for them. She reassures Irene again, telling her not to worry and to leave everything to her. Alina is determined to save her sweet mother. However, Irene points out that they don't have enough fabric for new dresses, and 1 week isn't enough time to make fine dresses with the material they have left. Irene then steps away, seemingly struck with an idea. She brings out her old dresses and tells Alina to use them to create something new. Irene assures her that the material is good and worthy enough to be sold to nobles. This makes Alina uncomfortable, as she points out how much her mother loves those dresses. Irene responds that she loves Alina even more and believes in her skills to transform them into something even more beautiful, just like her. Touched, Alina thanks her mother. Thanks to Irene, Alina now has fabric, but not much. She needs to make multiple dresses, and she wonders how to create fine designs without using too much material. She decides to make the dresses simple, elegant, and attractive. Drawing inspiration from designs in her previous life, she gets to work. Later, we see Irene and Jean. Irene thanks him for helping them, and Jean responds modestly, saying it wasn't a big deal and that it's nice to see Alina having so much fun. Alina is determined to create dresses that will stun even the nobles. After long hours of effort, she finally completes one. It's the last day before the tax collector returns, and all preparations are in place. Jean arrives and asks if Alina is ready to leave. She tells him he arrived at the perfect time, which makes him blush. Alina asks him how the dress looks on her, and Jean stands there in awe. Later, we see them at the market. Jean hesitantly asks if performing in such a public place is a good idea. Alina reassures him, saying there's nothing to worry about as long as he plays his music. She removes her hood and addresses the crowd, exclaiming, "Ladies and gentlemen, to take a look at this new dress so they don't miss their chance to own a unique, one-of-a-kind design today." Her confident voice catches everyone's attention. Jean begins playing his guitar as Alina twirls to display the dress. The bidding ceremony starts, and people enthusiastically participate. Suddenly, a carriage stops nearby. A young lady inside notices the dresses and exclaims to her companion, Lucas, that she has never seen such designs before. She wonders if it's part of a new trend. Lucas looks at Alina, and her heart skips a beat. The young lady struggles to hide her excitement and bids 5,000 gold pieces for the dress. This stuns everyone, including Alina and Jean. With a smile, Alina concludes the ceremony, selling the dress to the young lady for 5,000 gold pieces. She thanks her and changes into the next dress to start the next bidding. By evening, the tax collector arrives, demanding the money. Alina runs to her mother and hands over 300 gold pieces to the collector. Both Irene and the collector are stunned. Alina counts it in front of him. As he leaves, he warns them to be ready for the next time taxes are due. Alina dashes to her mother, celebrating that they made it in time. With the money she earned, she was able to pay all the taxes and still has enough left for her tuition. Alina is ready to attend Versailles Academy. At the back gate of Versailles Academy, Jean helped Alina get off the carriage. At this academy, she knew she would be able to find evidence to clear her mother's name. The speaker sincerely welcomed each and every student, and the principal announced that their time at the academy would consist of 3 years of learning, joy, and friendship. He added that it was a great pleasure to see them all there. Alina fell asleep during the principal's long speech. When she woke up, she noticed the principal was still talking. The principal finally announced that the grand welcoming ball would be held in 2 weeks, thanked everyone for their attention, and dismissed them. Everyone started fussing when they noticed Prince Lucas. For many, it would be a dream come true to dance with a royal like Prince Lucas at the ball. There was also news that another member of the royal family would be attending the academy this year. No one knew who it was, but it was said to be another prince, and the idea of dancing with 2 princes made it seem like an unforgettable night. As Alina walked out of the room, someone called out to her. A girl exclaimed that she felt like she had seen her somewhere before. Lucas pointed out that Alina was the dancer from the market, the one who had sold the dresses. Alina remembered her as the high bidder, and it was no surprise she would be here. The girl exclaimed that it must be fate for them to meet again and even be in the same class. Introducing herself, she said her name was Adeline and expressed that it was a pleasure to meet her. Adeline then pointed to Prince Lucas, saying she must have already noticed him. Prince Lucas introduced himself. When they asked for her name, Alina told them only her first name, knowing it would be dangerous to reveal that she was Irene's daughter. Adeline expressed that she looked forward to becoming good friends. Alina stood there for a moment before people started gathering around Prince Lucas and Lady Adeline, shoving her aside. One of the girls asked Prince Lucas if he remembered her from Adeline's tea party, saying it was a pleasure to meet him again. Another girl questioned Adeline and Lucas's relationship, hinting that everyone was waiting for the big engagement news. The excitement made their hearts race. Lucas responded that discussing any engagement was still a long way off. Adeline smiled, thinking it's all right and that she would patiently wait for his proposal. Alina walked away as far from the scene as possible. A black-haired guy sitting nearby with one leg crossed over the other called Lucas the future king, likening him to a duckling. This made Alina laugh. Amused, the man remarked that one of the ducklings actually laughed at his joke when she should have been fawning over Lucas like the others. Alina replies back if she looked like a duckling to him. The man explained that Lucas always attracted girls. It was his curse, though it seemed to work slower on Alina. She realized he knew Lucas very well. He told her they grew up together. Sarcastically, Alina asked if he was Lucas's brother. He clarified that they were cousins. This flustered Alina as he added that he preferred to avoid attention, as he hated the princely spotlight. Alina wondered if he was the other prince everyone had been talking about. He then asked about her family, noting he had never seen her before. Alina explained that she had only arrived yesterday and was from Rennes, which was quite far away. She added that her family belonged to the Remington line on her grandfather's side. Apologizing for the late introduction, she introduced herself as Alina. The man, introducing himself as Tristan, said he was pleased to meet her. Walking through a corridor, an attendant pointed out portraits of all the previous first ladies and lords of Versailles. The corridor displayed pictures of the royal family from generation to generation. Suddenly, one picture caught Alina's attention. It was none other than Lady Rosa Capel, the First Lady of Versailles. The attendant explained that the First Lady and Lord of Versailles were appointed roles, acting as His Majesty's primary ambassadors and right hands. Though the titles carried heavy burdens, they provided a direct connection with the kingdom and all the power and influence that came with it, including vast landholdings and monetary compensation. Even after their term ended, His Majesty prioritized their needs. To become a First Lady or Lord of Versailles was to elevate one's status exponentially. The attendant continued, explaining that Versailles Academy held the official competition for these titles 3 years from now, but every year's work counted. Students needed to do their best over the 3 years. Clenching her fists, Alina thought about how much power the First Lady of Versailles wielded, with direct access to His Majesty. It might take 3 years, but if she could claim that title, people would have no choice but to listen to her and her mother. Determined, she resolved to expose Rosa and restore her mother's honor. Jean told Alina not to work in the kitchen next time, warning her that if anyone saw her, they might start suspecting her of not being a noble. Alina thought it wouldn't be that bad, they would only mock her for being a commoner. While eating lunch, Jean asked about Alina's first day and if she had made any new friends. Alina mentioned meeting some new people, 2 princes, and the lady who bought one of the dresses in the market. She added that she might gather some information from them. She then asked Jean if he had heard any rumors about Rosa from the servants. Jean replied just the casual talk about how Rosa beat her wicked and cruel rival. Everyone in the kitchen loves that story. Alina had expected as much. If this were a simple matter, her mother wouldn't have been banished in the first place. Jean encouraged her not to be disappointed, reminding her it was only her first day and that she would find more information eventually. Alina thanked Jean for acting as her servant and helping her. Jean blushed and was about to say something when suddenly someone started knocking at the door. Now I feel sorry for him, Alina thought as she got up to see who was making such a commotion. Opening the door, she found Lucas standing in front of her. He quickly closed the door behind him. Alina shouted, asking what he was doing there. He put a hand over her mouth and told her to keep her voice down. They heard voices outside, someone wondering where Lucas had gone and suggesting he might be in that room. Lucas apologized for his intrusion. Alina demanded to know why he was there, reminding him that he wasn't allowed in the ladies' dormitory. Lucas explained that Adeline had asked him to escort her after dinner, but he had drawn too much attention to himself and had to hide. Meanwhile, Jean stood glaring at him. Alina, flustered, wondered what would happen next. Lucas informed her that he hadn't gotten this much attention since entering the academy and complained that the girls here were unusually persistent. Alina thought, irritated. She grew angry, exclaiming that the ladies should find something better to do with their time. Suddenly, there was another knock at the door, and someone asked if they could talk to her for a moment. Annoyed, Alina told Lucas to leave immediately, warning him that his presence would create unnecessary misunderstandings. Lucas looked around the room and concluded that the only exit apart from the door was the balcony. Prince, are you sure you're a prince? That doesn't mean you can fly like Superman. Jean handed Lucas a rope and corrected himself, suggesting he use it carefully to get out. Lucas tied the rope to the balcony rail and, before leaving, thanked Alina for bearing with him and apologized. As he put his hand forward, Alina thought he wanted to shake hands, but Lucas took her hand, kissed it, and wished her a pleasant night. This shocked not only Alina but Lucas himself. Alina called him a flirt for kissing her hand without permission. She then opened the door to find a group of girls looking for Prince Lucas. They asked if it was possible that he had come to her room. Alina informed them that he had, but only briefly, and that her servant had already escorted him outside. The girls remarked that they hadn't seen him leave, but Alina pointed out that her room was empty. Apologizing for the interruption, they left. When the girls were gone, Alina sighed with relief. Jean then pointed out that the girls had seen Lucas entering her room, warning her that they might start spreading rumors. However, Alina reasoned that such rumors would taint Lucas's name, so it was unlikely they would dare cross a prince. The next morning, Alina was enjoying her coffee, thinking about how much she had missed it. Caffeine addiction is real. The book hadn't mentioned Academy serving coffee, but she was relieved to have it. Jean came into her room, yawning. Alina wondered if he hadn't slept well the previous night. Jean explained that the other servants had been nosy. Jean went to open the curtains just as Lady Adeline entered the room. Greeting her with a bright good morning, Adeline asked Alina how she had been. Alina, feeling tired, wondered what Adeline was doing there. Adeline, noticing that Alina looked ready to go to class, suggested they go together. In class, The teacher informed the students that the day's lesson would cover simple tea party etiquette, an important and frequent social occasion they would host and attend as fine ladies. The teacher expected each of them to present themselves with grace and delicacy. The class began with Lady Alina being asked to come forward and demonstrate the elegance of drinking tea. Comforting herself, Alina thought, "There's nothing to worry about, it's just drinking tea." However, she clumsily picked up her cup, prompting the teacher to close her hand fan in anger. The teacher declared that in all her days, she had never seen a lady who couldn't even hold a teacup properly. This made Alina extremely anxious. She sat down, feeling overwhelmed. The teacher asked Lady Adeline to demonstrate the correct method of drinking tea. She bowed gracefully and, with perfect posture, picked up her teacup. The teacher, impressed by her elegance, decided to observe the habits of the other ladies as well and advised them to follow Lady Adeline's example, not Lady Alina's. "I hate teachers like her," Alina thought bitterly. Adeline tried to defuse the situation, suggesting that customs might differ in Alina's hometown. However, Alina was furious. Her mother had taught her proper etiquette. Clenching her fists, she resolved to do better next time. Later, as Alina walked down the corridor, a group of girls mocked her for not knowing something as simple as tea etiquette. They speculated about whether she had ever attended a tea party, noting that they had never heard of her before. Whispering among themselves, they suggested she might be from a lower class, pointing out that her dresses seemed of low quality. Adeline stepped forward, calling their accusations senseless and rude, reminding them that everyone at the academy had to pay a hefty sum to enroll. Alina told Adeline to ignore them and head to their next class. However, the girls continued, suggesting that Alina might have paid her tuition fees through dirty work. One of them added, that would explain why she welcomed His Highness into her room. Adeline grew anxious, knowing that an unmarried man and woman being alone in the same room was inappropriate, even if nothing happened. She turned to Alina and asked if the rumors were true. Before Alina could respond, Lucas appeared, mocking Adeline for assuming the worst of him. Lucas said he had overheard the commotion and was appalled to find Adeline accusing Lady Alina of such absurdity. He defended Alina, explaining that he had desperately needed rest and accidentally entered her room. He assured them that Alina had asked him to leave, and he had complied immediately. Lucas then apologized to Alina for causing her trouble. Alina, irritated, "As she can speak for myself, not that she have time to refute ignorance and cruelty." That was so Sigma, she thought. Lucas tried to stop her, but Alina walked away. Adeline, realizing it was her fault, resolved to speak to Alina herself. She left, determined to make amends. Alina, meanwhile, was deeply upset. She had assumed people would care more about the prince's reputation and refrain from spreading baseless rumors. Instead, she found herself paying for what she called Lucas's cowardice. Walking past the fencing grounds, Alina angrily began practicing with a sword, thinking the things she used dirty methods to get into the academy, when they're the ones who need to purify their dirty minds. She reminded herself to be careful around the nobles, knowing they could spread even worse rumors if they discovered her investigating the truth about Rosa. Alina also resolved to be wary of Adeline. While Adeline had seemed friendly at first, she had been quick to turn against her, as shouldn't have trusted her. Tristan appeared, praising her. He has never seen a lady in a dress fence so well before. Alina, shocked, addressed him as Your Highness, but Tristan insisted she call him by his name. He added he wouldn't call stabbing a dummy fencing, teasing her, if she wants to spar with him. Alina hesitated. He was a prince, but a little sparring wouldn't hurt. She attacked, and Tristan defended calmly, his movements controlled and professional, much like her mother's. He didn't hesitate to attack, and during one such move, Alina tripped. Tristan caught her in time, commenting, "This is why people don't fence in dresses." Blushing, Alina apologized. At that moment, Adeline arrived, having searched everywhere for her. Alina asked coldly, why was she looking for her according to those girls? Hanging around me will tarnish her reputation. Nonsense, Adeline exclaimed, grabbing Alina's hands. She admitted she had hurt Alina's feelings and begged for forgiveness. Adeline explained that she liked Lucas. They had been friends since childhood. When she heard rumors of Lucas being in Alina's room, she lost control and entertained baseless accusation. Adeline confessed, he's everything to get, but she shouldn't have doubted her. Alan never chased him or questioned him. She tells her she trusts her and she doesn't seem like that kind of person to her. Where were these thoughts when you accused me? Adeline promised never to doubt Alina again and asked if they could be friends. Hugging her, she tearfully begged not to be rejected, admitting she had never been rejected before. She forgave Adeline and asked her to let go. As they walked back, Adeline invited Alina to accompany her to Mrs. Margaret's office after class to request a dress for the upcoming welcoming ball. Alina agreed, intrigued by the name Margaret, which felt familiar. In Margaret's shop, Alina found everything amusing. Margaret assured Adeline to leave everything to her. It's an honor to make a dress for her, just as it was for her mother. She'll make it even prettier than Rosa's. This caught Alina's attention. Really Rosa's daughter? Or did she hear that wrong? Adeline gave her father's regards to Margaret, confirming Alina's suspicion. Adeline was indeed the daughter of Rosa and Frederick. Alina had heard of Margaret before Margaret Drew, Rosa's tailor. According to the book, Margaret had become Versailles Academy's official tailor after helping Rosa frame Alina's mother. The poison needle had been found in Rosa's dress, and as Rosa's tailor, Margaret had benefited from her rise to power. Alina thinks Margaret must know something as she cooperated with Rosa in that scheme. Margaret mused aloud about Rosa aiming for the First Lady title, and Adeline confirms to follow her mother's footsteps. Adeline seems proud for her mother to be her inspiration. Alina stood there in shock. She thought she could be friends with Adeline, but now she realized she needed to be more careful around her. Margaret wonders who Alina is and if she also wants to request a dress. Alina is silent for a moment before politely declining, as she will make her ball dress herself. She glances around at all the students requesting dresses for the event and decides that's why her own dress needs to be as impressive as possible. She wonders how she can get fabric for the dress. Waiting to visit town until the weekend would be cutting it tight, and sneaking out during the week seems impractical since she doesn't have enough money to buy anything nice. Spotting a piece of fabric, she asks Margaret if she still needs it. Margaret replies that it's a leftover. Alina cheerfully offers to throw it out for her, which Margaret agrees to. Alina heads back to the academy, clutching the fabric and deciding to toss it into her room. When she can turn these leftovers into a beautiful dress, she resolves. However, as she walks, she suddenly slips. Thankfully, Tristan catches her just in time. She stares at him in surprise, thinking, Tristan seems to be catching her a lot today. Tristan questions if she's alright. She gasps, concerned about the fabric that had landed on the floor. Tristan chides her. She should have been more careful, he just mopped the floor. She wonders why a prince is mopping floors, and he explains it's his punishment for skipping class. Alina raises an eyebrow. What kind of prince skips classes here and there? Tristan smirks and retorts, what kind of lady trips all over herself and doesn't know how to walk gracefully? Alina fires back, saying she wouldn't have fallen if he had put up a warning sign for the wet floor. Tristan looks puzzled about what is it. Alina remembers. They haven't been invented here yet. She accuses him of being careless and says he could have at least warned her when he saw her approaching. She demands he give back the fabric he ruined. Tristan returns it but pulls her closer and tells her he know a great fabric shop in town. If she need more fabric, he can take her there tomorrow to make up for ruining her fabric. Alina stares at him, surprised. The next day, we see Tristan with a carriage, helping Alina inside so she doesn't trip again. He smiles and extends his hand to her. Alina hesitates before placing her hand in his, her heart racing. Tristan, aware of his charm, smiles knowingly, mocks her she'll lose her shopping time if she keeps staring at him like that. Alina snaps back that she wasn't staring at him. Seated in the carriage, she sighs. If he acted more like a noble more often, maybe his sudden princely attitude wouldn't be so surprising. Tristan raises an eyebrow, wondering if she was impressed by her princely charm. She gets annoyed for twisting her words. Alina wishes she had brought a book to read, as she needs to prepare for Monday. Meanwhile, Tristan jokes that he would have thrown up if he tried to study inside the carriage. Alina, grateful he won't be throwing up on her today, but advises her not to skip too much classes. Tristan grins, pointing out she seemed to think about him a lot, considering she noticed him missing so many classes. Alina glares at him for putting words in her mouth. He chuckles and apologizes but admits he enjoys teasing her because her reactions are so amusing. At Paul's fabric shop, Tristan greets the shopkeeper. Point's business seems to be bustling as usual. As he's restocking, Paul is glad to see him and remarks that customers have been flooding his shop, preparing for the Academy's ball. Tristan casually offers to help and wonders aloud why people get so excited about the ball when it's just another event. Paul stops him from helping, but Tristan insists, saying he's just stretching his muscles. Alina is confused and asks why a prince is helping out in a fabric shop. Tristan points what's wrong with helping others. Alina finds him very different from what she had expected. This job is unusual for a noble, she thinks, and she has never seen a prince mop a floor either. Tristan explains he never liked how nobles treat commoners. Just because they come from old families doesn't make them any different. That's why he tried to treat everyone as equals, no matter their background. Hearing this, Alina feels her heart race again, gazing at him in a new light. Tristan wonders if he has finally impressed Alina, and he did impress her a little. He points to a red fabric, suggesting it would suit her, but Alina hesitates, thinking it might be a bit too bold for her. Tristan insists that red would make her stand out perfectly, especially with her dark hair. While speaking, he inadvertently brushes her hair, then gasps and becomes awkward. Trying to cover it up, he adds, he wears red often at parties since he has dark hair too, and wonders silently why he touched her hair. Alina narrows her eyes and points. Won't people think they are a couple if they both were the same color? Tristan starts blushing, gets annoyed, and demands, if she's not interested, just put it back, wondering how did they even end up discussing couples because of colors? Alina finally agrees that the red color will indeed suit her well. She reasons that people tend to choose colors they are familiar with or like, so there's nothing wrong with what Tristan said. Now, she just needs one more fabric to complement the red. Tristan questions if she's like fabric that much. Alina smiles brightly and replies, she does love making clothes. Dresses are her favorite, and one day, she wants to have her own boutique. Seeing her beaming smile, Tristan smiles back. He thinks her dream is admirable. Unknown to him, Alina silently reflects on her past life, where she had worked so hard for a boutique only to lose it. She vows to rebuild what she lost and make it a success this time. Tristan admires her goal and tells her he'll cheering for her so he can even be her first customer. What he'll be going to do after graduation. Before Tristan can answer, she remembers that he has many duties to fulfill as a prince. Looking wistful, Tristan admits he wish he had a simpler life, but lights up the conversation stating at least he can cross swords with her again sometime. He loves fencing. Alina laughs and teases, to not his other pursuits, like cleaning, as he had a lot of practice with that. Her laughter causes her fabric to fall to the floor. Tristan reaches for it, muttering, if she's not falling, she's definitely going to drop things. Both of them reach for the fabric at the same time, and their hands touch. They freeze, staring at each other. Alina becomes nervous over why he's staring at her. Tristan picks up the fabric and replies, her hands are too small, that's why she keeps dropping things. He quickly adds, he wasn't staring. He was just looking. As there's a difference. Alina coughs, knowing Tristan enjoys teasing her. She resolves to be more careful around him. When she sees Tristan at the counter, she insists on paying for the fabric herself. But Tristan tells her to relax, explaining that Paul is a friend and is giving the fabric to them for free. Alina squints suspiciously. Tristan sighs in annoyance for doubting Paul's kind offer. She wonders if Tristan secretly paid for everything to help her. Although it helps a lot that she doesn't have to pay, the idea of being in financial debt doesn't sit right with her. That night, we see Alina spreading out all the materials she needs to create a dress for the ball next week. Jean, her companion, is overjoyed to see so much new fabric. Jean states he thought she was going to take some leftover fabric from the academy tailor yesterday. Alina explains, those were ruined when she slipped on the floor Tristan was mopping. To make up for it, he took her to a fabric shop in town. Jean is shocked, points if he's the prince she talked about before, and asks if she went with him alone. Alina replies casually and wonders he's not as bad as she initially thought. Jean looks anxious because it sounds like a date and is worried if she's falling for that prince. Alina pauses, thinking. What intrigues her most is Tristan's attitude toward commoners. Although he can be annoying and outspoken, he makes her laugh, and she supposes he can be charming in his own way. She giggles at the thought. The next morning, Alina realizes she has worked through the night. She has spent too much time designing the dress and isn't as far along as she hoped. Last night, she asked Jean to fetch her sewing tools from home. She plans to at least have the fabric ready for stitching when he returns. There's a knock at the door. Jean enters, carrying a bag with the tools she requested. He's concerned for her for pulling up all night. Alina replies they don't have much time and she made her breakfast too. Jean insists that she should rest, as she looks exhausted, but Alina tells him she'll rest once the dress is finished. As she opens the bag, she finds a ribbon and a letter from her mother. Her mother writes about worrying for Alina every day, knowing she's attending Versailles Academy with so many judgmental people. But Jean had told her that Alina was doing well, which brought her relief. She advises Alina not to let her guard down, as the year has just begun. Her mother also mentions that more customers have come to her shop after Alina promoted her dresses in town. The ribbon is a gift for Alina to wear at the ball. Her mother writes, no matter what she wear, it'll look beautiful with it, and she wishes her good luck. Alina presses the letter to her chest, feeling touched. She decides to write her mother back before heading to school. The days leading up to the ball were passing quickly. 10 days, 8 days in. By the 5th day before the ball, Alina was yawning in class, even making Adeline worried. They are your friends until you are doing better than them. Later, Adeline was seen knocking on Alina's door. When Alina opened it, she was shocked to see her. Adeline handed her some tea to help her relax, noticing how awfully tired she seemed. Alina thanked her. Adeline invited her to visit her room sometime to see her garden, proudly mentioning that she had grown those leaves herself. Alina admired her for plucking her own tea leaves. Although Adeline liked to chat a lot, Alina secretly hoped she wouldn't today. There was still much work to do on her dress. Adeline glanced at the dress and asked if it was for the ball, then requested to take a closer look. Alina allowed her inside. Adeline was in awe of the dress, even in its unfinished state. Its shape was beautiful, and the sewing was done perfectly. She asked Alina if she had made it all by herself. Alina explained that her servant, Jean, had helped her, but she would be embroidering the pattern herself since it was a challenging task. Pointing at the dress, Adeline asked if that was where the embroidery needed to be done. She offered to help, claiming she was good at it. Alina hesitated, wondering if she could truly trust her. But with only a few days left and her exhaustion causing her to lose focus in some classes, she realized she needed capable hands. Still, she decided she would be extra careful and monitor Adeline's progress in case there were any ulterior motives. In the end, she gave Adeline the design and thanked her for her help. Adeline admired the pattern, calling it very pretty. Meanwhile, Alina picked up an etiquette book, her biggest challenge yet. She recalled her teacher mocking her, if that's how she'll curtsy in front of the king? The First Lady title will be out of reach if she keeps failing her etiquette lessons. Unlike her, the other students, being nobles, had learned etiquette even before attending Versailles Academy. Alina felt the need to catch up. She reminded herself that the hallmark of a true Lady of Versailles was her command of etiquette and social graces. The First Lord and Lady represented the king himself. They had to be perfect from head to toe, whether walking, dancing, or exhibiting table manners. Alina felt worn out from reading all the etiquette instruction. Someone approached her, asking if the book is giving her a hard time. It was Prince Lucas. She wondered what he was doing there. He explained that he had been reading nearby and noticed her struggling, embarrassed. Alina assumed he was there to mock her. Lucas reassured her, since he would like to help her if having trouble. He noticed she was studying etiquette and asked if that was the issue. She confirmed it, admitting that she was constantly scolded for her poor manners. Lucas related to her, saying he had been scolded too as a child. Royals had to perfect their manners before even reaching the age of 10. He confessed that table manners had been the most difficult for him. Alina missed the days when she could lick her fingers after eating sweets and snacks. Lucas informed her that etiquette for men and women differed, especially in how they walked and sat, which might limit how much he could help her. Alina wondered what he meant by that. Lucas explained that etiquette was something to be practiced rather than simply read about in books. He offered to share his observations of the other ladies and how their behavior might differ from hers. Alina considered it a decent offer,